Thank you very much for making a date. Welcome back to the marketplace. The total amount of money moved across the various networks on the mobile money interoperability platform witnessed significant increase since its introduction. Figures put out by managers of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems (GIPS) show that value of transactions reached 17 million Ghana cedis. We have the breakdown of the numbers and implications on the country's quest to move towards a cash-light society.
17 million cedis covers funds transferred from various wallets from May 10 to June ending, representing almost 2 months of operations. In the first month, the service recorded a total of 96,000 transfers valued at 8.3 million cedis, according to data secured from the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems. It also increased by 190,000 to reach 17 million cedis. The mobile money interoperability allows customers to transfer funds from one mobile money wallet to another network. This has come to address a challenge that made it difficult to transfer funds across various mobile networks. One of the major beneficiaries of this service in terms of receiving the transactions in the first month of operation was Vodafone. Let's hear from its Chief Executive Officer, Yolanda Cuba.
We've communicated very strongly around interoperability because we genuinely believe in it. So we've actually communicated quite a bit about interoperability to our customers to say it's a good thing, because ultimately where we want to get to as a country is a cash-light society, because a cash-light society helps all of us. Cash flow that is moving around and doing different things, producing results in different kind of areas, being productive, actually is productive for the country as well. It improves our GDP and it actually ensures that everyone is more effective as well as efficient as well.
Most industry watchers are of the view that looking at the growth of this service as well as mobile money, which has hit 2 billion cedis in terms of funds held in bank accounts, then it is likely that the country has made some significant progress in terms of moving towards an era where little cash is used in transactions.
The Ministry of Finance is considering additional measures to enforce its tax compliance drive. Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwating has, in this regard, urged Ghanaians to take advantage of the current amnesty regime by the GRA, adding that government will be tough on evaders.
But already we've seen the announcement of NPA getting tough on some companies for tax evasion. Are we going to see more of this, and the resolve is getting tough on evaders?
We would use whatever the law allows, because we have come to a point where, as a country, if we want to improve the situation of our people and finance government commitment to the people of this country, then we need to mobilize revenue. As you would see in this tax measures, we sought to target high-income earners in order not to burden the poor. But beyond that, our strategy is more to keep taxes to the minimum and to expand compliance and ensure that people required to pay taxes indeed do pay taxes. So compliance, it's going to be a big one going forward. And I respectfully appeal to Ghanaians and all those viewing or listening to us today to note that it is in their interest to take advantage of the amnesty and to clear all past liabilities, but more importantly, that going forward, there ought not to be any reason for evading tax or avoiding a tax in a way that is unlawful. So my conclusion is that compliance will be big, and I urge Ghanaians to support us as we seek to improve revenue mobilization in this country.
The Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Birender Singh Yadav, says India is poised to deepen trade ties with Ghana by focusing on manufacturing and agriculture. Charles Aiti caught up with him ahead of the launch of the multi-sectoral international exhibition fair in Accra, with a discussion focused on an outlook of Ghana's macro economy.
When it comes to one of Ghana's economic trade ties, we're talking of India. Of course, they have been in the system for quite a while now, and they have also, injected so many investments into the country. We get to speak to the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana on the outlook of the economy so far and impending programs regarding trade exhibitions. So many thanks to you, Excellency. First of all, help us understand your outlook on the Ghanaian economy as it stands today.
I think as seen by the growth rates, Ghana is doing very well. I think the economy is expected to grow more than 8%. I think the economy is on right track, and we are very happy that India is one of the major economic partners of Ghana. We are one of the major importer of goods and services from Ghana, and our bilateral trade, it crossed US dollar 3.6 billion in the year 2017-18.
Okay, let's talk about the macroeconomic fundamentals proper, because of course we've had issues with the cedi, the fluctuations of the cedi, and issues related to the cost of doing business in Ghana. How are Indian businessmen, for that matter, matching up to all these challenges?
I think the Indian businessmen find Ghana an attractive destination for doing business, and that's why we see increase in number of Indian investments flowing into Ghana. Currency fluctuations, it's a phase which all the countries they experience. If you see the major currencies, even the Indian rupee has shown a little depreciation against US dollar. But we believe that we have strong economic fundamentals, and which would not deter the trade and investment flowing into India, or trade ties of India with any other country. So similarly, we also believe that Ghana, with its stable democracy and good law and order situation, and with a conducive business environment, is a place where more and more investment can flow from India.
Talking about investments, we do gather that India is injecting some amount of money into mechanized agriculture in Ghana. Could you expatiate this one further for us? How has it been so far?
See, the India's developmental partnership with Ghana, I would like to highlight, is based on priorities of government of Ghana, and both the governments have been discussing agricultural mechanization, and which has the components of not only sourcing of agricultural equipments, but also agro processing and the construction of warehouses. So it's a complete agricultural cycle, and this particular project has been under negotiation for quite some time, and we are very happy to learn today that Parliament of Republic of Ghana has approved this particular line of credit.
So how much are we talking about?
This is a very big line of credit, amounting to US dollar 150 million, and this is one of the biggest lines of credit which India has offered to any country in the field of agriculture, and we hope that it would be able to make a substantial difference in the agriculture sector in Ghana.
From your perspective as the Indian commissioner to Ghana, what do you think should be the policy focus of government? I mean, your own suggestion. Should we focus much on manufacturing? Should we focus much on services? Or you think it's a combination?
No, I think the Honorable Prime Minister of India, in his address to the Parliament of Ghana, when he listed, and in his address to the Joint Business Forum in Uganda, I think he mentioned, and I will reiterate those points, he had mentioned the capacity building and the human resource development, which is a prerequisite for any nation to grow. And also second, he had mentioned that the value addition to natural resources should be a priority. And I think that is same as the vision of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana when he talks of Ghana Beyond Aid, and encourages more industrialization through the flagship program of One District, One Factory.
All right. Finally, before we let you go, where do we see India and Ghana's trade engagement in the following years? Are we going to see more investment, or are you going to be now shifting into trade evaluation?
No, I think what we have seen, the trend is that now, of course, trade remains, but lots of Indian investment is coming to manufacturing. Small industries are being set up, and we only see a forward path in our economic and trade ties and in our overall engagement between India and Ghana.
Your Excellency, we're so grateful. Thank you very much. So that was the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, the person of His Excellency Brenda Singh Yadav, in that interaction there with me related to the India-Ghana trade ties. In the meantime, I'm Charles Aita reporting for Joy Business.
It's live on the marketplace. The Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, an agency under the Ministry of Communications, has expressed commitment to construct about 200 rural telephony project sites by the end of this year. According to the agency, this is part of efforts to bridge the digital gap between the served and the underserved communities in the country. This was announced at a GIFEC press soiree organized here in Accra. Bismarck Awusa was there.
Communication-oriented agencies have over the past 25 years promoted various initiatives to accelerate growth of the information society in the country. However, statistics indicate there are still about 1,020 communities within the country that have been identified to be without mobile signal as of 2017. It is against this backdrop that the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, seeks to facilitate the construction of 200 rural telephony project sites in collaboration with some telecom operators before end of the year. Abraham Kofi Asante is administrator of GIFEC.
In the area of rural telephony, for example, we observed that from 2004 to 2016, only 117 projects were done, which gives the indication that about 10 projects were done every year. Now, in 2017 alone, from May to December, GIFEC has deployed 180 sites, which tells you that there's a new shift. The funding has not changed, but what we have adopted are innovative ways of partnership that is now yielding more for the citizens. This is because the manifesto of the government indicated that we are going to give connectivity for a wider number of people, and we are translating our manifesto into results.
Mr. Asante spoke to Joy Business at GIFEC press soiree organized here in Accra. In a related development, he says his outfit intends to invest an annual amount of 30 million cedis to fund some major projects it wants to embark on.
We have changed the game, and we've put it on high gear, and also to provide more quality work. First of all, there are a number of projects that we have lined up to do. In the area of rural telephony, for example, we manage it in such a way that out of some little investment that we do from that, we use it for administrative purpose so that we can concentrate on our projects using the whole amount without touching it for administrative purpose. The total revenue that rakes in annually is around 30 million Ghana cedis.
So that's the amount you're using to actually fund this?
Used to do all the things that we do.
Since its inception in the year 2004, GIFEC has made significant strides in the implementation of universal access to electronic communications by delivering solutions and programs tailored to meet the needs of Ghanaians in disadvantaged communities. Its vision is to provide cover for 95% of unserved and underserved rural communities by end of this year. Bismarck Awusa, Joy Business.
Now, government ended the first 5 months of this year with a budget overrun. This was confirmed in the mid-year budget review presented by the Finance Minister to Parliament. But should we worry about this development, and what about the impact on the economy? George Wiafe joins us for some more analysis. George, what exactly was recorded?
So let's first get some basic understanding this budget deficit or fiscal deficit. You're looking at a revenue of about 17.3 and also expenditure of 23.4 billion Ghana cedis. Now, this gap, and that's what you want to actually explain it as the budget deficit or the fiscal deficit. If you go through the various line items, you're looking at the fact that compensation, there was a slight overrun. If you look at monies that government gives to other units, there was also a slight overrun. But every budget, or let's just say for a developing economy like Ghana, you're likely to have an overrun, a situation where your revenue doesn't actually match your expenditure. So if you go through the budget, it was programmed. There was expected that the first 5 months of this year, there's going to be a budget deficit, or they'll end up spending more, or actually the gap between the expenditure and revenue would actually exist. but it's gone a little bit higher than what they projected. You're looking at somewhere around 5 billion, a little over 5 billion. You're doing 6.3 billion Ghana cedis. But you see that if you really restrict yourself to the expenditure line, they didn't actually spend more than what they've programmed. But it was all because revenue is not doing well. And if you go through the revenue line items, you see that most other measures there perform below what they're looking for to get. And that is why the budget deficit is a little bit bigger than what we all programmed or what government itself was expecting to get for the first 5 months of this year.
All right, so from your explanation, I get the impression then that it is a normal financial practice, I mean, to expect a budget overrun.
For a developing economy like Ghana, but the reason why you budget, the reason why you plan is to ensure that you match your expenditure revenue, period. And those are the basic principles in finance and even managing the economy. So is it not something that is accepted for you to have an overrun always? Okay. But for a developing economy like Ghana, I mean, countries like Germany have always ended up a year with budget surplus. So it means that
how would that, excess expenditure be financed then? I mean,
well, and again, you see the government is planning to raise some monies to fund it. But the question anybody would ask that, okay, since government started putting its budget together in recent times, there's been a budget overrun. So why is the big deal? Well, you want to see that government plan to end with an overrun of maybe 10 billion or 11 billion, and therefore measures have been put in place to work towards that. Now, if you end the year with more than what you have projected, then it means you have to still look for money elsewhere to fund that deficit. And that has been our major problem in recent times, where we have a huge deficit and we have to look at where do we raise the money. Do you do taxes? Do you issue bonds to fund that deficit? And that is where the concern is. It means that there's still something has to be done about revenue. If we have to end the year with what we have programmed with respect to our fiscal deficit, we need to mobilize more revenue. You and I have to pay, and that's why the government says they're going all out there to get those who are evading the taxes and those who don't want to pay their taxes to pay.
Is it really a worrying issue at this stage?
It's worrying because then if you do your extrapolations and all the rest, there's a fear that if the revenue numbers doesn't pick up, then we might be in for another year with a higher budget deficit, or a year that the gap between how much we have spent and how much we have mobilized in revenue will be bigger than what we thought. And how are other sectors going to suffer as a result of this development? But government has given the surety that, well, they're going to stick to that deficit target for this year and ensure that they match revenue with the expenditure that they are programming to spend for this year. So let's wait and see what will happen by December this year, or even let's get into the fourth quarter or maybe the third quarter, how things will look like. Then we can do our extrapolations and see that, okay, indeed, government is on track. Again, one would ask that it sends some good signals to investors, because if this deficit goes higher than what we thought, it has some implications on the local currency. So if you stick to that deficit target, it gives some confidence to investors that what you promised to do, you're sticking to it, and therefore they can use those macroeconomic targets actually to work to factor their plans and investment plans for your country.
Perfect. Are we ever going to witness a budget surplus as a country?
That's a 1 billion question to answer.
But it's possible, right?
Maybe we might. If we try to improve revenue collections and also be disciplined with our expenditure and also cut down the corruption, it is likely that we might end a year, one of the years, you never know, when maybe you are the president of Ghana, to have a budget surplus.
I really hope so, because we need to get a surplus one day to change.
President Yafe having a budget surplus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
George Yafe, bringing us up to speed with developments on the economy. Let's turn our attention now to the Western region. And Western Regional Chairman of the Association of Hotels in Ghana, Kojo Santianane, is lamenting the poor road network connecting to their hotels. They say the situation is having a negative impact on their businesses. Sharing his thoughts in an interview on the sidelines of the third quarter National Executive Meeting of the Association in Takoradi, Kojo Sante noted the situation may compel some hotels in the region to fold up soon.
The hospitality sector plays a vital role in the development of tourism in the country. It was expected that the advent of oil and gas will not only spur up the hotel business, but turn around the fortunes of the industry in general. Unfortunately, almost 8 years of oil production, the sector is yet to witness a boom. This is because the Western Region branch of the Association of Hotels is facing several challenges that undermine the success of the industry if not resolved. Key among these is the state of road networks in the Western Region. Western Regional Chairman of the Association, Kojo Asante Anani, says the situation is threatening the very existence of hotels in the region.
The road leading towards Pole and number 9, that's a Fiekuma Road, we have a bypass behind my hotel. And for some years now, the road has been very bad. And it looks like nobody is showing any concern about it. And you know the cost of, if I hotel, I decide to use my money to go and do the road, what money will I use in paying my taxes? The same government agencies will come to me to close me down. Look at Takwa, for instance. I believe the government should do very well and look at it. You know, most of the street lights are on the main roads, but hotels are not found on the main road. They are either a branch or at a certain point. And most of the roads, the lights are very bad. Some are gone dead, but there's nobody to take care of it. So we are pleading with government.
On his part, National President of the Hotels Association of Ghana appealed to government not to increase taxes frequently, as that would compound their financial situation.
We've been calling on the Tourism Authority, which is our primary regulatory body, to call these regulatory bodies to order, let them work in tandem to ensure that we don't have excessive increases in the regulatory fees that we pay. At our meeting today, for instance, one of the issues that came out strongly was the fees to copyright. Would you believe that a hotel, 4-star, 5-star, is being expected to pay over 30,000 cedis a year just because it plays music in its premise? We believe that government has a major role to play in bringing down hotel rates.
So just before we finally go, it was a business partnership went bad that actually pushed one Sedem Afenyo into savings and loans business. For Mr. Afenyo, it is not only about the money, but the fact that his company can help several small-scale businesses in the community. Here's a bit of what to expect on Joy Business Fund later tonight on the Business Live.
Here at Kontonse, the cash cow has already been milked. Sedem Afenyo, CEO of Cash Cow, upon seeing the plight of pupils in the public school, is already solving a problem by providing 50 free desks. At the school, pupils from 3 classes are boxed together in a dusty makeshift structure, sitting on dual desks meant for 2 people in 3s and 4s. There's no way pupils won't copy. On your way, don't copy.
I walk around sometimes to pick a stroll, and one day I walked past the school. I happened to get into the classrooms and I realized, is this a classroom or a playground? Because you enter the place, you see 1 chair, 2 or 3 desks around. So I was wondering why this. I happened to talk to the assemblywoman, and she actually told me that what I actually saw was a classroom, and that's the school is suffering from infrastructural issues, so they need help, and that is what has led to my donation of this desk to the community.
You were telling me that, I mean, sometimes when you have conversations with the headmaster, he tells you some very interesting things, if you can re-echo them. What are some of the things the headmaster has been telling you about this school?
Well, he's been telling me that, 1, when you bring your ward here to be admitted into the school, the first thing they will have to tell you is to provide your own chair or a desk, because they don't have.
All right, so you get the full story on Business Live tonight. And that's it for the marketplace. My name is Emmanuel Abwaji Riafe. Good to be with you today. Good afternoon.